1970, I think, when we first started, and we had the day school, and then some of our kids had to move to Pemberton because the DIA says we're going to move certain grades to Pemberton. There was a principal for the day school, and she didn't say anything to me, but she said, well, it's time you parents take over your own school, otherwise you're not going to, well, everybody will forget the language if you don't. So that's how we got started, being a few parents. And that's how we started. We started talking what we should do to take over our own school. And so I'll get our kids back into the school again. And so that's what we did.
Had the day school closed then, by then too?
No, it was still open, and my mom was working then as a homeschool coordinator and working in education already in the band office. And DIA was threatening to close the school down because, and so that's why they wanted to move to Pemberton, the grade 5, 6, and 7s. And then but the little one still went there, but that school was condemned and they weren't going to give any more funding to rebuild that school. So this is when my brother and our cousin got into trouble in school and walked the tracks. We've lost a lot of people on the tracks, so it was actually a safety issue as well. So she started calling the Board of Education. She was working in with the board at the time, right? And Edith, and so all the board people pulled their kids together. That's when the basement school started.
We had about 14 kids to start with, with all the different ages. And we didn't even have a classroom. So they were going to the old hall, you know how old the hall was, and no feet. So the kids had to dress up in their winter clothes, and they had to go to school in their winter clothes. And then it used to be so cold then. And so the teacher says, "Why don't we just go skiing?" Okay, well, we can get skiing for free because we let them, because that's our territory too. Whistler's our territory. So they let our kids for free. So they would go skiing, get in the van, and where it's warm. And it took a long time. It took 10 years for us to get the new school. Back and forth, back and forth. Oh, you got to do it this way. I go and do it that way. And then they said, I bring it in, and they would say, oh, you got to go this way. And you can build a school on a floodplain. Okay, we have a place to build it. And I was just sitting there one day after 10 years. This guy from the Department of Indian Affairs came and asked for me at the band office. So going, I heard you asking for me. Oh, where do you want your school?
Finally.
I looked at him, I didn't want So I said, oh well, I'll bring you up. And there was no road up there yet.
Right.
So I brought him up there, and I was trying to walk around up there where the school is now, and then walking around there and trying to, where should I put the school? And so I said, oh, I can see the lake from here. This is where we'll have it. So that's how come the school's there. Well, he said I have to have, and then the board member said that we had to have our own teachers from the community because we wanted to have the language as well. And so DIA says, well, you can't have teachers that are not certified. So I started the teacher training program. So we can give you money enough for 15 teacher trainees. So I said, well, and then that's how come we told her, you have to go in as a teacher. I'm trying to get enough students so I can keep the money. We got to 14 and I couldn't answer. So I put my own name in there.
So you told yourself.
Yeah.
She was 1 credit away from her degree, which was her math, and she tried it more than once, never did get her math.
I never did have time to take it, that's all.
And she did all the math though for the building the school, right? So she should have got it as an honor to me. But when I didn't go to Pemberton, like when they moved us, like when I was grade 7, we were still, I think I was still in day school. They moved us back there. After my brothers were kicked out of school. And so I went up to grade 7, and then I was sent to Vancouver on the boarding home program. It wasn't the residential school, but there was another part to it. I think and I did graduate on the academic program from Carson Graham in 1974. It kind of ages me. But in the meantime, when she was at home telling her family, you have to take this program, you know, this is why it was mostly family. And people used to, I remember going through this, people used to believe it was nepotism, because my aunts were all in there, I was, and all family, and it's because she said no one would apply for it or sign up with her. So she said, you're taking. So, and then she of course, she put her name in for the last one, because they really tried to put all these obstacles in front of her so that she was not capable of building a school or doing this. So she said that. So we didn't have a choice. So we all went to school. They actually put me as soon as I graduated, in the classroom, and I was going to school at nights.
Yes.
And during the summers, but we taught the kids during the day.
First took over, that was the Ford's Green used to have an immersion school, the whole school, but at least we just have it from
Their
up to grade 4.
parents can choose where they want to send their children. They could send them to Hutlala, our school. They could send them to Signal Hill or to the immersion school. So every year, this year you have 14, I think, isn't it?
Where?
In immersion?
20, I think it's 20 something.
24 now?
Yeah.
My youngest sister's oldest son in Haptop, he graduated. The first immersion school just graduated in a couple of years now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they were the most fluent, yeah. And so the school is still going. We are working more on when the first group, of course, were her family again, because she asked all her children to put their kids in school there because nobody they didn't trust that they would excel in their education if they went to immersion. And, you know, parents were afraid. And so that's why she was talking her own children into putting their kids there. And it was the strongest group that we had because the first group, because they all worked together to make the materials. I mean, they didn't really have any money to do a lot of it, and the parents were very, very involved. Today, it's not the same. They're not as involved, so it takes certain kind of people to keep these pulled together and keep the parents involved. So it's not as strong. Her daughter, my sister, is now the immersion teacher, but she's getting her degree now too, so she's going to school. And she's in Hector, the first group's mom. So all Sue's kids went to the immersion school. And then they make their transition into the regular school after.
So do you feel there's more people today speaking traditional language than there were 10 years ago?
Yeah, I think there are more young parents but then of course we wanted the parents or the moms to come maybe twice a week together so we could teach them the language too, but not too many people were coming, so I had to try something else.
Yeah.
So, but the kids would go home and talk to their parents in their own language. And people would phone in, "You're saying something like this. What does it mean?"
What does he say?
I just got invited to go to Africa and end up May, I guess, because they want to start to build their own schools over there now that I guess our government's going to start giving them money to do that, because a lot of the kids don't go to school there.
Lois, would you want to talk about the super courses? I think that's so interesting.
Oh, yes. When we ran, when I moved to high school, I mean, one of the important parts of it was that we do 5-day programs on language and culture, but other other subjects as well. But I was more involved in that when they moved me to high school. We used to, the 5-day courses, they do the hike in the Stein for 10 days. Well, that one's a longer course because
They still do it.
they still do it. Yeah. And we do like canoeing or culture and arts,
And fishing,
fishing,
like, when we put our salmon away, they dry it.
preserve foods,
Yeah.
hunting,
Hunting.
and they have them 3 times a year. September, in the winter, and in spring. And they, so the kids are together for all those days, and they choose what they would like to learn.
Another kind of immersion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so we're trying to, that's part of my job now, is trying to get some elders in there speaking the language so that kids will pick it up.
Question, what do you see as the future of Mt.Currie schools? I know the new Tizil Learning Center is going in.
Well, with the new changes, I think it's called the reconciliation, government, truth and reconciliation. They are providing more funding for us to put in more people that are fluent. Mt.Currie has quite a few fluent speakers still, more than a lot of places do. But, I think a handful of them have developed dementia. So we're losing it very, very fast. So that's part of one of my mandates as a manager of the Culture Center. We don't just run the Culture Center, we do all these programs as well. And it's to document our language. Transcribe all the stories. We've made 2 dictionaries now and 1 herb book.
That's right.
So it's all documented, and